2007, I started making a documentary about it, and that's how I learnt about it. I grew up in Bombay, you see these lunchbox delivery guys around. You just take it for granted. It's so integral to the city, and Bombay is much like Manhattan. It's a long city, so it's something that's organic. It started in Bombay 125 years ago, and it's only in Bombay, and it only works in Bombay. They've tried it in other cities, and it does not work. So it's basically a system where there's this community of 5,000 lunchbox delivery men. They all come from the same village outside of Bombay, so it's sort of an ancestral profession passed from father to son. They pick up lunchboxes from housewives at homes and deliver them to their husbands in the offices, and then in the afternoon they deliver the empty lunchbox back to the housewives, and it's incredibly efficient. The lunchbox delivery men used to be illiterate, so they rely on a system of coding, which is numbers, letters, and colors. And statistically, only 1 in a million lunchboxes is ever delivered to the wrong address. So I started researching this documentary about the system. There's been lots of good documentaries made about it. I was hoping to find something about it that's not been spoken about. And I embedded myself with them for a week. So I was with them for a week on their rounds, delivering lunchboxes, delivering empty ones back, and we became friends. And they started telling me all these stories about the people that they deliver lunchboxes to and from. Like the mother-in-law rules in this house, this housewife tries something new every day. Just really intimate, small, personal things. So I became more interested in those, and I gave up on the documentary and I started working on the script. It never started off as a love story or a comedy or a specific genre in my mind, but it just started off in my mind as I thought this could be an interesting device, because Bombay is not just Bombay. Bombay is many Bombays. There's many cities within Bombay, many worlds, and they don't interact with each other. And it's sort of more than a city. It's a collection of glorified villages, in a way. So I thought it could be an interesting device to connect two lives. I didn't know what those two lives were going to be. That just came from the process of writing it. But the character of the woman Ela started with my interactions with these lunchbox delivery men, and all of them are in the movie. All the lunchbox delivery men that I was embedded with, they all are in the film. Yeah, but I think maybe to a degree that's true, because we set up the world of the story, but then very quickly we move into the characters and within them, and it's about these two people who really don't fit inside Bombay. And Sheikh's character, Sajan's friend in the office, played by Nawaz Siddiqui, he to me is Bombay.
Why?
He is sort of the stand-in for the city in the story, and we spoke about it a lot, not in those specific terms, but when I was writing it, I wrote the first draft and I showed it to my wife, and she said, "This is great, but it doesn't have any spices." So that's when his character came in, because I felt like we needed a foil to Sajan. Because he's so grounded and understated, and he belongs to a different time. There's an old worldliness, and that's where the letters also came in, from these people who are yearning for a different time. India was very different when I was growing up in the 80s and early 90s, because we are, for all practical purposes, we were a communist nation. There's heavy socialism, and then suddenly the world changed in '92 on. Suddenly things opened up, and and it changed so fast. In 20 years, it's a different place. So it's about these people who have been left behind by the times. But then Sheikh's character is someone who stays with the times, like Bombay. Things keep changing, but the city keeps evolving. But there is sort of a core to Bombay, which is it's kind of one of those places that unless there is a tsunami, it's always going to be there. I travel for food. I would not go to a country where the food was not good. I cook. I shouldn't say this on camera, but I think maybe I'm a better cook than I'm a director. But yeah, I mean, I love food. I grew up in a household where everyone loves food, and it's very important to us. My mom is a great cook. My dad is even better a cook than my mom. My wife is Mexican, so cooking has just been always an important. I hope we don't make our little girl too fat, but we just had a 7-month-old. She was born during the shoot, my baby girl. But yeah, food has just been a very important part of my growing up. You know, my family is from North India, Punjab, but we lived in Bombay. So food was sort of a way of connecting back to my homeland is Bombay, but for my parents it was something else. So food was just a way for them to kind of revisit and reconnect, and we always, you know, not trying things as much, but just the idea of food and nostalgia is very tied together in my head. Like food is very nostalgic because that's how it was when I was growing up. You know, my parents would cook something and say, oh, you know, the last time I ate this, or when the first time I ate this, I was doing this. All the memories were somehow tied to food. So that somehow just came through inherently, I think, in the script. It was never a conscious sort of, you know, decision. I mean, I think it's interesting times. It's sort of you're in the beginning of something interesting happening. I feel, but I feel like there is something more that needs to happen. Because this energy about the new Indian cinema, I feel it more here when I'm in Cannes, or we were doing post for the film in Berlin. It was during the Berlinale. We were doing our sound design then, and I felt this palpable sort of energy that, but when I'm in Bombay, I don't feel it yet, you know. And there's something that needs to change. I think it's sort of a critical mass thing. More people need to get involved, sort of in this motion of the, you know. I wouldn't say it's a new Indian cinema, but I think it's revisiting our roots and telling stories that are more local, and so local that they become universal. Just like Satyajit Ray used to do, and Guru Dutt. And so I think we need to sort of revisit our own, you know, cinematic tradition.